dead, and all of a sudden you saw they had a grenade they were ready to throw. So we just didn't fool with wounded at all.
Now we have our option. We could leave them there to suffer, or we can kill them. We could not carry them back. Of course, at the same time, souls between men in combat, you don't really look upon that enemy soldier as a human being. This is an enemy. This is a rat. This is somebody that needs to be killed.
For a while, one US division gave 2 weeks leave for every Japanese taken alive for questioning. When the offer ended, the supply of prisoners dried up. No one wanted to take prisoners, wounded or not, and the bodies of the enemy dead received little respect from either side.
The Japs had cut the penis off and stuffed it in the mouth of 2 of the dead Marines, and then cut the head off and set it on the chest. And the third one was just unrecognizable as a human being. I mean, they'd apparently taken sabers and chopped his legs and arms up at the joints and just piled them over the trunk of his body. And it was the biggest, bloodiest mess you ever saw, and the blood was all blackened. And from then on, I thought to myself, the more of those Japs I can kill, the better it's going to be, and I have absolutely and never will have any compassion for any of them.
There was a fine dividing line between collecting souvenirs and savagery. Some Americans would hack gold teeth out of Japanese jaws with their knives. One day, a medical aide found Eugene's sledge bent over a Japanese corpse.
Doc Caswell happened to be walking near me. He said, "Sledgehammer, what you gonna do?" I said, "Doc, I think I'll get me some gold teeth, start my gold teeth collection like a lot of the guys." And he came over to me and said, "Sledgehammer, don't do that. You know, you don't want to fool with those things." And I said, "Well, a lot of the guys do it." And he said, "Yeah, but, you know, just think of the germs." And I didn't know anything about germs then, so I hesitated. And he said, and think about what your parents would think. And I said, "Well, my dad is a doctor. I think he'd be fascinated, but my mother'd be horrified." And he said, "Well, Sledgehammer, I just don't think you ought to do that. And I think if you did it, you'd regret it later on." And I said, "Well, Doc, I guess you're right." So I never took any gold teeth. And in retrospect, I think the Doc was just trying to help me retain some veneer of civilization and decency. Rather, not that I imply my buddies were indecent when they took gold teeth, but some of them today kind of cringe at the thought of what they did.
I wince a little because I kept a skull. Somehow it didn't seem to be a desecration. And I put it on a desk I had built inside of a tent, and it sat there for many days. As a matter of fact, it became a candle holder. By that time, we had seen so many ghoulish things. We had seen badly wounded people, mutilated people, that having a skull did not seem as outlandish in that context as it would have in other contexts. It was almost an emblem of who we were, because so many of us were committed to death. We came here to die. We came here to die.
The final assault on the ridges of Peleliu.
If the devil himself would have created a place to defend, this would have been it. It's still a wonder that so many people have nervous breakdowns.
We had good numbers of what we called combat fatigue, unable to function normally anymore. Although they were not wounded as such, but their wounds were here. Your spirit just gives, and you just crack.
We saw this guy coming in at us on low. He's just about on water level trying to escape the guns, you know. And luckily for us, he had a 500-pound bomb, which we knocked off of him out in the water. If that had landed in the back of my ship, I'd have been a dead duck.
From October 1944, the Japanese deployed a new weapon, the kamikaze. Suicide attacks sank over 30 Allied ships and damaged 300.
They were crazy, absolutely crazy. They had to be. American people, white people, Caucasian people don't have the same feeling about going to heaven and paying a penalty like that. They had to be brainwashed.
According to Japanese propaganda, there were solemn rituals before takeoff. The divine purity of their sacrifice would inspire and save the nation. Even the emperor sent his thanks. Crowds turned out to wave them away. The truth was very different. They were virtually press-ganged and barely trained. Many went through mental hell. A few even crashed quickly to end the agony. Occasionally, the Americans recovered a body. Then some began to see them as fellow human beings.
They brought him aboard, his body, and they put him in the officers' mess. You know, had the big table. They put him on there, and they went through his pockets, and there were the same things that you and I had in my pockets. There was the photo of the family. There was a religious something. There was some money, you know. And that, to me, brought everything closer than anything.
Kanji Suzuki is a kamikaze who survived. He was neither a god nor crazy. He was a rather scared 17-year-old.
When I left home, with much backslapping and ceremony, I felt like a hero and behaved like one. But once it had all sunk in, I got the jitters, and I'd feel anxious and scared all day long.
He coped by visiting local brothels, where 1 yen bought as much time with a girl as it took a stick of incense to burn down. If the girl liked you, and they liked Kanji, she would lick the incense to make it burn slower.
Only by being with women could I forget my fear and anxiety.
His runway is now a field of sweet potatoes. His 3-man bomber took off alone. No other crews showed up. There were no last rites, no thanks from the Emperor, no one to wave goodbye.